I will be talking about and guiding you through all the inventors that made film and video possible from the early 1800s and onwards. In this first section, I'll be telling you about the very early discoveries of filmmaking. These will have been very basic but played a big role in the film industry. A magic lantern is an invention that projected an image onto a wall or screen. They would have multiple images on a strip of wood and could switch between each image. Very basic but a huge discovery back in the 1800s. This also led to the discovery of the thaumatrope. The thaumatrope came soon after the magic lantern. The thaumatrope was an invention which turned two pictures into an animation. This was invented in 1825 and was a fantastic invention and was key to the discovery of movement within pictures. The thaumatrope consists of a circular disc, and on each side you draw, for example, a bird in a cage, and you attach two pieces of string either side of the circular disc. You then twist it so that it looks like the bird is in the cage. Going one step further, there was a new invention after this. It was the praxinoscope. This is also much like the thaumatrope, except it is a little more advanced. The praxinoscope was also invented in 1825, following the discovery of the thaumatrope. A praxinoscope was a mirrored projector. It would consist of a round piece of paper split into eighths, and you would draw a series of images during an activity, for example, a bouncing ball. So when you spin the mirror, the images look again like a moving animation. Moving about 20 years on, the zoetrope was introduced to the industry. The zoetrope was invented in 1867. This invention was a little like the praxinoscope, except a lot more advanced. The zoetrope was an invention which made static pictures look like a moving motion, much like the praxinoscope. The zoetrope consists of a cylinder with slits in the outside edge. In the inner edge there is a strip of images in a sequence. As the cylinder spins, the images start to move. All these inventions were a key part of the discovery of any type of filmmaking, as without them there would be no further uncovering of what images could do. These types of images would have either been painted or drawn onto sheets that could either be projected or painted onto moving objects to show some kind of animation. We will now be looking at the inventors of the outstanding motion images and early films. We'll first be starting with Joseph Napier. Napier was the man who captured the very first photograph in 1826. This was a huge revolution to the media world, as it was the first time people could see an image on paper that they could see with their eye. This picture led to many other famous inventors' creations, one being the very famous Edward Muybridge. Edward Muybridge was a keen film/motion picture creator. He captured the horse in motion animation, but without the invention of the first image by Joseph Napier, he would not have been able to do this. So Muybridge was very much influenced by him. He did this in 1878, so a few years after the first image was taken. He made up this motion image by lining 12 cameras up with a strip of wires, so when the horse ran past, it would trigger the trip wire and take the image. The end result was that he had 12 images that he put together and played at a fast speed, creating a moving horse running. It was amazing to people, as they had not seen a real-life image moving. Only drawn pictures had demonstrated in the early 1800s. This motion picture encouraged a whole new world of imagery and filmmaking, so much so that the Lumiere brothers came into the filming industry. The Lumiere brothers, Auguste and Louis, were the first two men who made the first film. The films produced by the Lumiere camera were usually about 50 seconds long. They were taken in one shot with the camera kept fixed on a tripod, looking at the same way all the time. The first one which was ever to be shown to an audience was an image of the workers leaving their factory in Lyon. The first public viewing was on the 28th of December 1895. However, without the influence of Edward Muybridge, they could not have made this happen. But without the Lumiere brothers, George Méliès would never been able to make the first real movie/film. George Méliès was the creator of the Trip to the Moon film. It is a 1905 silent French film. The film looks at a group of astronomers going in a rocket to the moon. The film is about 17 minutes long and has roughly 12 to 14 frames per second. The most memorable moment is when the rocket lands in the moon's eye. It is one of the most well-known images in the film industry. This film was a big break for the film industry, as it was a lot longer than the Lumiere films and also had a lot more advance with the props. D.W. Griffiths was the director and filmmaker of the film The Birth of a Nation. This film was created and published in 1915 so only 10 years after the 17-minute film by the Lumiere brothers. The film is a silent American drama. The film was about the relationship between two families in the Civil War. The film was a huge success but got later on criticised for the use of white men playing black men. It was a huge release as it was 190 minutes long. This was a huge increase from the Lumiere brothers' 7-minute long film. This film inspired Lev Kuleshov, who played around with facial expressions and what film could portray. Lev Kuleshov edited a small video in 1929 which showed how the same facial expressions but with different pictures presented can be perceived in a whole load of different meanings. He first showed a picture of the face and a bowl of food, suggesting that he was looking forward to eating it. The second image was of a dead girl in a coffin. This image with the facial expression showed that the man looked guilty or happy she was dead. And the third shot was a very attractive woman on a chaise longue. This might suggest that the guy finds the woman attractive and might even be aroused by the woman. Here we can see that different images can really change a human's perception on what the meaning is behind a facial expression. Originally, it was shown to an audience who believed that the facial expression was different each time. This was a huge discovery and was even studied by psychologists and is well known amongst filmmakers. All these inventions, directors and inventors, have led to the films we see now in the 20th century. And although they seem so simple to us now, they're a huge and an outstanding discovery back in the 18 to 1900s. Without these inventions, the famous filmmakers and directors today would not exist and the films we all love. So now we'll be looking at different shot types. There are many different shot types that we can use in filmmaking. A mid-shot mainly focuses on the character. It is filmed from the waist up and shows the body and costume. It also shows some part of the subject in detail. Extreme close-up shows the intensity of the subject and attention drawn from the scene. It is often used in horror to show the terror in someone's eyes. This is used to bring out the key details in a person's facial expressions and emotions. Over-the-shoulder shot is when two people in the same scene are having a conversation face to face. It is filmed over one person's shoulder and switched throughout the conversation. A close-up is often for us to see detail in someone's face. This is used to show emotion in a character and it also emphasizes on the emotional state. Point of view shot is used to show a point of view from the subject's perspective. This is used to feel the emotion of the character and makes it easier to relate to the audience. A two-shot is when two people are in the frame, often in the same style as a mid-shot but with two people. This shot is often used when there is a couple in the scene or a three-way conversation. Wide shots can also be referred to as long shot. This shot is used to see the surrounding and to focus on the background. A wide shot has to have space at the bottom and top. An extreme long shot is to show setting. It usually shows the whole picture. An extreme long shot needs a subject in the picture so that the audience can see just how extreme it is. So now we've done shot types, I will now be talking about camera angles. Eye level is another term of a normal view or realistic view. This is when the camera is on the same eye level as the subject. It is the most common camera angle used for dialogue. We use worm's eye view to show that one of the characters is a lot more dominant than the other character, and therefore makes them look a lot more fearful and scary. Bird's eye view is from a high place above ground. This kind of angle is used in action movies so that we can follow the whole action in it. This shot is to include everything in the shot. It is also used to show height and is used for different spatial perspectives. Here you can see this in the clip from The Dark Knight Rises. High angle is when the camera is looking down at a subject. This kind of angle is to make the subject look weak, scared and feeble. This is often used for smaller characters such as children with parents. A low angle is used to look up at the subject. This kind of angle is used to make the character more dominant, look more powerful, intimidating and scary. This angle is mostly used for villains. A ground shot is when we look up at the camera. A ground shot is when the camera is on ground level, often looking at feet. This kind of shot is used to build up a character from the bottom to the top. Now, so we know, we can all use these shots. But now we need to know how to put it all together with seamless editing, and there are many ways of doing this. A jump cut is a way of passing the time in a film. This is done by literally cutting the scene and playing it at a later time, so we can see that time has passed. You can see this clearly in the movie Breathless, directed by Jean-Luc Godard. His use of jump cuts were unusual because they were all in the same frame as the person was always in the car. A way to hide a jump cut is to use a cutaway. This is when you add a clip to link the two jump cuts together. A match cut is a transition often used to compare two completely unrelated subjects. This is when you dissolve two objects that have a similar shape, colour or movement. We can see this clearly in the film A Space Odyssey, where apes chuck a bone up in the air and then it dissolves into a spaceship. Both objects are similar in colour and shape, and also both tend to make the near bottom of the screen. This makes an effective match cut into a completely different scene. A transition is something that changes an image on a scene, more subtly. It eases into the next image. It is normally used to change into different scenes for films. This is to show an obvious change of the two different bits of filming. One example of a transition is to dip it to black. These transitions get the image of the current scene and dip the page black so we are ready for the new scene. For us to edit a film is great, but to add music is even better. This will add more emotion and a scene which will touch the audience watching. One of the key points of music is the timing and pacing. In this bit of the film, James Bond Quantum of Solace, the music at the beginning is quite mysterious and we wonder what first scene is going to be. We see a car and the sound effects of a revving engine, and then we know that this is going to be a car chase. The music gains emphasis and then drops when James Bond changes his gear in his car. Then we hear the car engine. Then we hear the car engine surrounding and gunshots. Then we hear the background action music. The music is quite fast paced, so it makes everything in the scene become a lot more tense and a faster pace. The timing of the music isn't really in time with the scene, but because it has such fast pacing it doesn't matter too much as people will become more focused on the action. The pacing of the music slows down when something extreme happens, for example when one of the enemy's cars falls off the edge of the hill. In this film, Lost in Translation has quite a different set of music to the previous example. In this movie, the ending scene shows no music when the two both meet, but when the man starts to walk away, this gradual fade in of music comes in. The pacing of this music is quite slow, which shows that we are meant to feel a sense of sadness or empathise with the female character. The timing of it also isn't very well within the different shots, but I think it works well, as it kind of gets us to focus more on the emotion of the character. Cutting on the beat is when you cut your video clips to the beat of the music. This makes the sequence of videos more enjoyable to watch and a lot less boring, but not always the best bit in terms of telling a story. Look at the music as a whole, not just the beat. Where does it peak? What shots suit this selection best? You could do this effectively on Premiere Pro by zooming in on the audio file and listening to the music and stop the tab where the beat is and you want to cut either lengthen or shorten your clip video to the line of the beat and delete the ripple of the next one. Continuity editing. A shot reverse shot is when you use over-the-shoulder shots over two people who are having a conversation and switching between each shot clearly so the two cameras shows that they are having a conversation. The 180-degree rule is when you keep the camera on one side of the action and do not change the sides. The two characters looking at each other always have to be on the same side they started off in. You have to imagine a semicircle on the line you've chosen to film from. The 180-degree rule is used in the social networker by using a wide range of shots within the section dialogue. They use shot reverse shots, long shots, mid shots and over-the-shoulder shots, all within the line of action.
Would you like to talk about something else?
Seamless editing that was used was also known as invisible editing. This meant that the cuts between the shots were matched to the action. This technique was usually used by D.W. Griffiths. With the seamless editing, it makes you watch something and not even realise that it's being edited. A continuity error interrupts the seamless editing because you can see instead of not noticing that two shots have been cut, we have seen that because of the error they have filmed it over 2 days or so. This doesn't show in seamless editing. Parallel editing. Parallel editing, cross-cutting, is the technique of alternating two or more scenes that often happen simultaneously, but in different locations. The two different stories we are being told in The Godfather is that Michael's at his nephew's baptism and men murdering his rivals. He chose these two scenes mainly for the contrast. In the baptised scene, everything is calm, peaceful and very religious, as opposed to the other one, which is extremely violent and against God. This also shows life and death. Multiple perspectives. Different ways you could tell a story from multiple points of view is to simply have a section of the film played from one other person's point of view, then another section of it from another person's, and so on. Another way of doing this is split the screen and play two different perspectives, and another would be to split the screen into three and have the same story but from three different parts of the day. 500 Days of Summer uses split screen to show reality and expectations. This use of multiple perspectives was effective because it gave us more of an idea of what he wanted to happen and how different in his head he was to reality. In the Thomas Crown Affair, split screen was used quite different. This one is used to show a series of time events that fit together in numerical order and fit together as something running in time. I think that 500 Days of Summer is better because in the Thomas Crown Affair, I feel like there's a bit too much going on rather than 500 Days of Summer, where scenarios like that are easier to relate to because everyone has an idea of what they would expect, so it's easy to understand and empathise with.